Welcome to the Cenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling the massive multi-billion-dollar industry built around those universal daily brain failures memory supplements. We've all been there, staring into space, trying to pull up a name, or my favorite, walking into a room and just completely forgetting the mission.
That feeling, that cognitive friction, that's what fuels this entire industry. We feel like our own operating system is, running slow.
Yeah.
And our sources today, they cover everything from clinical meta-analyses to detailed product profiles, and they show exactly why this topic is so fascinatingly tricky.
So our mission is pretty straightforward. We're going to sort through all the promotional claims, the sponsored science, and just the overwhelming noise to find the reliable science-backed knowledge you actually need.
The promises are huge.
Oh, huge. Better short-term recall, laser focus, even turning back the clock on cognitive slip-ups.
And the science. I mean, on paper, it sounds great. Boost brain cell function, increase blood flow, support key neurotransmitters. But here's the central dilemma, and it's something you really need to grasp.
Okay.
Many small, targeted studies. They do show a benefit, often in very specific groups of people. But when you look at the bigger, more rigorous trials, the effects often end up being, minimal, or just non-existent for the general healthy population.
That's the disconnect we need to bridge. It seems like there's a lot of excitement about, say, optimization, but maybe the real wins are just in fixing deficits first.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. If the overall scientific picture is so conflicting, where does a smart learner even start looking for reliable support?
We absolutely have to start with a reliable foundation. And that's often the least profitable, least promoted stuff.
Right.
When you look at guidelines from major clinicians or, respected hospitals, they consistently point to basic, well-known nutrients as the first line of defense.
So we skip all the exotic proprietary blends and go straight to the basic building blocks.
Precisely. We're talking about B vitamins, especially B12 and folate, and also vitamin D and omega-3s. The reason is simple and, honestly, pragmatic. They address common nutrient deficiencies.
Deficiencies that we know hurt the brain.
That we know actively damage cognition, particularly in older adults. If you're deficient, your brain just can't perform optimally. It's like trying to optimize an engine that's low on oil.
That makes perfect sense. But let's contrast that with what the marketing machine sells. They almost never lead with, hey, take your generic B complex.
Not at all. It's always exotic formulas, quick results, glowing endorsements.
And this is where you, the learner, need those critical checkpoints, because the price often correlates with the hype, not necessarily the effectiveness.
You've hit the nail on the head. When you're evaluating any choice, you have to prioritize checking the dosages against actual clinical studies, not just the marketing promises.
Okay.
Look for third-party testing for purity, and maybe most important of all, set realistic expectations. Supplements support function. They don't. They can't create new function out of thin air.
Let's focus on those metabolic powerhouses you mentioned, B12 and folate. What's the specific mechanism there? Why is correcting a deficit so crucial?
Well, B vitamins are central to, thousands of metabolic processes, including managing homocysteine levels.
And high homocysteine is bad.
Very bad. It's a marker that's linked to cognitive decline, even brain atrophy, so the evidence is solid. If you have low levels of B12 or folate, correcting that, especially if you're over 60, can lead to measurable improvements in attention and recall.
So it's an essential first step. You're not optimizing, you're just restoring function.
You are restoring function. And that distinction, restoring versus optimizing, is so key to understanding all those mixed studies we see.
So B vitamins fix a deficit, but what about someone who eats well, has good blood work? That kind of leads us away from the foundation and toward those more specialized compounds, right?
Exactly. Now we're moving from deficiency correction to potential optimization. And this is where we have to look at the compounds that get the most attention in clinical trials.
Let's start with the one with arguably the most robust data, omega-3s. People call them the structural support of the brain.
Yeah, omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA and EPA, they have perhaps the most strongly supported evidence across the entire landscape. They play a crucial structural role.
So like the bricks and mortar.
Think of your brain cells as a complex house. The omega-3s, especially DHA, form the literal walls and foundation of those cells. They keep the membranes fluid, responsive, able to communicate.
And what dosage should you be looking for on the label? Because just seeing fish oil can be really misleading.
That is a critical point. Don't look at the total fish oil. You have to look at the concentration of DHA and EPA. For real cognitive support, research points to about 500 to 1,000 milligrams of combined DHA and EPA daily.
Wow, so you really have to read the fine print.
You have to. A standard 1,000 milligram fish oil capsule might only have 300 milligrams of the active stuff.
Okay, so we've covered structural integrity. Now what about the electrical wiring? There's a form of magnesium getting a lot of attention, magnesium L-threonate.
Yes, what's fascinating about L-threonate is that it was specifically engineered to cross the blood-brain barrier more effectively than, say, standard forms like citrate or oxide.
It gets where the action is.
It gets where the action is. Once it's in the brain, it acts on synaptic density and plasticity. So if omega-3s are the walls, L-threonate is improving the signal quality of the wiring.
So it strengthens the connections.
Right. It helps strengthen the little traffic signals between your brain cells, and that directly supports working memory and often faster processing speeds in clinical settings.
Okay, so if thinking fast and holding complex thoughts is the goal, this is a target nutrient. What kind of doses are we talking about?
Study doses are typically in the range of 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of the L-threonate compound per day. But, and this is important, while the mechanism is very exciting, the long-term, large-scale data isn't as extensive as it is for omega-3s. Not yet.
That makes me a little skeptical of, acting as the learner here. If it's designed to cross the barrier and promises faster processing, why isn't the science as strong? Is it just newer?
It's partly newer, yes. But it also goes back to that core dilemma. Omega-3s address a fundamental structural need for almost everyone. L-threonate is targeting optimization, which often gives you smaller, more variable results. It's an effective precision tool, maybe not a universal hammer.
Understood. Okay, let's do a quick look at 4 other popular contenders that you always see on the shelf. We need the mechanism, the dose, and your caveat. First up, phosphatidylserine, or PS.
Okay, PS is a phospholipid. It's vital for synaptic signaling and membrane fluidity. Think of it as like a lubricant for your neural pathways. Doses are usually 100 to 300 milligrams a day.
And the benefit.
Modest improvements in attention or recall, especially in older adults with mild age-related decline.
Okay. Next, ginkgo biloba. It's been around forever, always marketed for circulation.
Ginkgo is everywhere, but the results are notoriously mixed. Early, smaller trials hinted at some gains, but the larger, well-controlled trials are often pretty inconclusive about any real lasting impact.
And there's a warning with ginkgo, right?
Serious one. The big concern is its interaction profile. It can have dangerous interactions if you're taking blood thinners. Anyone on aspirin or prescription anticoagulants needs to talk to a doctor first. The dose is usually 120 to 240 milligrams of a standardized extract.
Good to know. We also see acetyl L-carnitine a lot. Sounds like it's for energy.
That's the idea. It may support mitochondrial energy metabolism in the neurons. Doses are pretty wide, 500 to 2,000 milligrams daily. There's some potential benefit in certain types of age-related decline, but the effects are just not consistent across the board.
And finally, the trendiest one, lion's mane mushroom.
Lion's mane is really interesting. It's linked to modulating nerve growth factors, so it could potentially promote new connections. The early human studies are small, but they show some promise for mild cognitive gains. It's one to watch, for sure, but it just doesn't have the decades of safety data we see with omega-3s.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, and where the rubber meets the road for you trying to make a smart purchase. Let's look at how these high-profile proprietary blends stack up against the simple nutrients we just talked about.
This is the critical juncture. The branding is incredibly powerful, and they promise this synergistic effect, but they often mask really low doses of the most expensive ingredients.
So let's use a couple of high-profile brands to illustrate the challenge. Take Neuriva.
Neuriva is marketed to target BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as like high-quality fertilizer for your brain cells. The idea is brilliant. Boost the fertilizer, cells grow better.
And they use coffee cherry extract and PS for that.
That's right. But what's the evidence? Small, sponsored trials show some improvements in focus and memory. The crucial caveat, though, is that independent replication of those results is very limited.
Right. So can you really rely on data that comes from the company selling the product?
That's the question you have to ask. Then you have Prevagen, which has gotten a lot of regulatory attention. Prevagen is a classic case study. It uses a unique ingredient, apoakerin, from jellyfish, not something on any traditional nutrient list. And it's faced significant challenges about its clinical efficacy and the claims being made.
So if Nariva is an example of sponsor-funded data, Prevagen is about what? Opacity?
Exactly. Opacity and non-traditional ingredients. Because the ingredient is so unique, it's incredibly difficult for you, or even an independent researcher, to verify its stability, its absorption, its ability to even reach the brain. You're forced to lean entirely on the company's internal data.
Which defeats the whole purpose of critical evaluation. So for you, listening, how do you sort through this noise? We've pulled out 4 critical checkpoints you have to use.
First, transparent dosages. If the ingredients are hidden behind a vague proprietary blend, that is a major immediate red flag. You have to know how much DHA or PS you're getting.
Second,
Third-party testing. Look for seals from organizations like USP or NSF. They certify that what's on the label is actually in the bottle.
third, demand safety clarity.
Absolutely. Clear safety info, documented interactions. If a company downplays side effects, be very wary.
And fourth, and maybe the most important, independent clinical data.
Non-negotiable. Look for studies published in peer-reviewed journals by independent researchers, not just studies funded by the manufacturer. If the only good data comes from the people selling it, that's a problem.
So to sum this part up, what are the absolute put the bottle back down red flags?
Vague ingredient names, hidden blends, and any bold hyperbolic claim about reversing decline or curing disease. Supplements support function. They are not medicine.
Okay, that brings us to practical choices and safety protocols. If someone's ready to take a conservative, evidence-forward step, what does that starting stack look like?
You want to prioritize proven metabolic and structural support first. Start with the foundational players that address common issues.
So omega-3s.
Correct. Omega-3s aiming for 500 to 1,000 milligrams of DHA daily for that structural health. And a good B complex with active B12 and folate for metabolic support, especially if you're over 60.
And if they want to add something for processing speed and working memory.
Then you could incorporate magnesium L-threonate at the manufacturer recommended levels. That combination covers both the structural necessities and the more acute demands of information processing.
You mentioned L-theanine earlier for focus. How does that fit in?
L-theanine is an excellent addition, not for memory storage, but for calm focus. It's an amino acid from green tea. Doses of 100 to 200 milligrams can reduce jitters and improve sustained attention. That's why it's so often paired with coffee.
Okay, but how long do you really need to try one of these stacks before you can tell if it's working for you? People quit too early.
You have to give it serious time. Cognitive changes are gradual. I'd say start with one product at a time and allow a solid 8 to 12 weeks to really assess the effects.
Then how do you track it objectively, not just based on a feeling?
Keep a simple log. Track objective things. How many times you wake up at night, your general mood, how you do on a specific memory task like a vocabulary list. If you see no difference after 3 months, it might not be for you.
Now for the most critical part, safety. No supplement is risk-free.
And this step has to happen before you buy anything. First, review all your current medications for interactions. We talked about ginkgo and blood thinners, but there are others.
Right.
Second, ask your doctor for baseline lab tests for B12 and vitamin D. Knowing if you have a real deficiency guides your dosing. And third, watch for side effects, GI upset, headaches, mood shifts, and stop immediately if problems come up.
And we have to temper expectations too. Who really stands to gain the most here?
The benefits tend to be modest, almost always subtle, and they are clearest for people correcting a deficiency, older adults dealing with natural cognitive decline, or people with increased metabolic needs. For the average young, healthy person, the biggest improvements won't come from a pill.
So what does this all mean? We've sorted through the hype, we've identified the core evidence. What's the big picture takeaway?
The search is intensely personal. It's about balancing evidence, safety, and your individual needs. But the absolute truth is that supplements must be paired with essential lifestyle measures. You just cannot supplement your way out of poor sleep or a bad diet.
And what are those proven lifestyle measures? The real stars of the show, frankly.
Consistent, high-quality sleep that's non-negotiable for memory, regular aerobic exercise to improve blood flow to the brain, a balanced diet, and finally, challenging your brain with new things. The supplements are supporting players. They are not the drivers.
So just to reiterate one last time, before you implement any of this, you must consult a clinician to avoid interactions and make sure the plan fits your health history.
Absolutely.
So we connected the structural need, the omega-3s, to the functional mechanism, the magnesium L-threonate today.
We did.
Which leaves us with this provocative thought for you to mull over. Since omega-3s and magnesium L-threonate target two distinct vital areas, structural health and working memory, what might a combined deficiency in both areas mean for your overall daily function and long-term cognitive resilience? We'll leave you to think about that until the next deep dive.
Thanks for tuning in to the Cenario podcast. Don't forget to visit Cenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.